all the connections are made, and we'll be able to make some meaning out of where we are with this moment, with this broadcast, and hopefully in general and all together. So right now I'm just doing my best to bide some time while all the connections are put into place. Here we go. Let me go over to the 15 minutes of flame side of things. Here it is. And we're waiting for the stream to start. It's interesting. Let's see. Divine Mother said, anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear gets that Robert is furious at women. He's the only one who can't see it. Furious at women. Okay. Well, maybe Robert is furious at things outside of just women. Maybe you can't necessarily say, oh, look, I think anger is okay. I'm not angry at women, though. I'm definitely not angry at women. I'm telling you what I get peeved about is I get peeved about the level of manipulation and propaganda and social engineering. That's what I get peeved about. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, we're here, we're live, we're back. It's 15 minutes of flame, and I may produce some material today that might put you on edge a little bit, might trigger you a little bit. It's okay because that's, I think, theoretically what we have the right to do. Hopefully I'll make you laugh a little bit today too, because that's all part of it as well. And I'm just waiting for the YouTube stream to catch up. And let's see where we are with that. And we're almost there, slowly but surely. Let's get into this. And there I am live. What's happening, everybody? There we go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Jasper, maybe he will. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. There we go. Got a little welcome over there. Things are happening. And let's go over to the 15 minutes side of things. Good morning. There we go. Alrighty. Good morning. Okay. Let me just turn that down. Beautiful. Okay. So what's happening, everybody? Nice to see you. It is Monday, the 3rd of June. If you haven't paid your rent or your mortgage, probably now is a good time to do it, as we are just starting off here at the beginning of the month, and those things tend to happen. We also are looking at this event that I'm talking about in the fall. It looks like it's getting finalized finally. I've been able to stare down a couple of dates, and it's looking more like mid-October. I'm having final discussions with the venue, and then hopefully the people that committed to the September time will be able to commit in the October time. And then we'll build this thing out, we'll all get together, and we'll culminate on the Harvest Moon on the 13th of October. So more details to come on that. So how is everybody? How was your weekend? It got off to a kind of a inauspicious start on Friday. I was feeling really out of it. Seems like a number of you were out of it as well, or at least were experiencing some unusual energy that day. And then, of course, later in the day, we had a shooting in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And a good friend of mine, good friend of the show, Bev, Elba, was the one who alerted me to that. She actually lives there. She lives in Virginia Beach. And there was some kind of an Illuminati festival that happened about a month before. I'm not saying the two events are connected, but Jay-Z was there, Pharrell was there. Pharrell is from, I think, Virginia Beach, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a very interesting area, Virginia Beach. You know, we used to do some meetings there, some sessions there with the For Purpose group. I was a speaker there a couple of times. Of course, ARE is there in Virginia Beach, so it's a pretty spiritual area. I mean, there's a really big, like, statue of Poseidon, which is there down by the waterfront in Virginia Beach, and so it's a pretty powerful area. And not far from Virginia Beach is Norfolk. It's the next town over. That's where Steve Bannon is from. And of course, he's been in the news. And apparently, just an update, the Tristuli monastery in Italy has now been essentially taken away from the Bannon group because there was enough public outcry and enough pressure that was being put on the kind of non-Salvini portion of the government. And now they've had to divest themselves, or they're actually fighting to stay there. But the press got out, and apparently, the locals didn't like it. And I mean, this is the way these things go. We're in a battleground and a battlefield of ideas and perceptions and memes and tropes and psychological mind space and head space. I mean, it's going on. This is what's happening right now. And I just want to return to this comment that I'm furious at women. No, I think what I'm upset about is that women have been weaponized. Women have been weaponized. Men, for a long time, have been pretty much, I think men have been pretty much in the dark in a lot of ways. And I think at a high level, I think men have been sold out by other men. Okay, like all you got to do is watch the Kay Griggs video. If you spend 5 hours or 6 hours or whatever that Kay Griggs video is, you'll realize that men's worst enemies is not women. It's men, other men, at high levels. Okay, so I want to be clear on that, because but at the same time, I think that that women, any group, women are part of a group, and they've been weaponized. All groups have been politicized and weaponized. It's just the way things are. Okay, and they've been weaponized and politicized so that we can be divisive, so that we can have feelings of enmity towards one another, so there could be backbiting, there could be backstabbing, groups wanting to get theirs. It's like, well, screw these guys, I'm going to get mine. I don't care what the repercussions are 15, 20 years down the road. I may be the next group that's targeted. I don't give a shit because we're getting ours now. This is really short-term thinking, but unfortunately, that's what's been bred into our society. That's what's been bred into our culture. Is short-term emotional IQ. The bottom line, and it's one of those things that I've had to sort of, deal with my own life and trying to be able to not always look for the most immediate kind of avenue of gratification. And I'm relearning a lot of things. At the very least, I can begin to wrap my head around that relearning. But anyway, I just think that, unfortunately, women, through women's liberation, have been weaponized against men. I'm not the only one, by the way. I'm not. Aaron Russo talked with Nicholas Rockefeller, and Nicholas Rockefeller shared with him that that's indeed what happened. That women had been weaponized, been taken out of the home, and they've been basically turned against the family and turned against men. And here we are now, 3 generations, 3 iterations past the original first wave feminism, and how we relate on a level of intimacy and sharing and bonding is really, really, really difficult. It's difficult. It's fractured. It's fragmented. It is painful, and I feel very, very. I have a lot of empathy for young people because they're really trying to sort their way through a lot of bullshit. Everything from, these kind of hardcore dating apps like Bumble and Tinder, which are whatever. I'm not passing any judgment, but I just think it breeds a certain kind of instant gratification that is not endemic to being able to start, families and extended families and then extended groups so that we can have, a more organic kind of communal relationship with people in our lives. And it's been an interesting time to be able to look at these things and see how fragmented we've become in a lot of ways. And so the weaponization, I think, is clear. And does it make me angry? It makes me angry at the process of the weaponization. I am not furious at women. Okay, it's just the process. And I think what's happening is now we're starting to see the process take place, and it's part of the waking up game. And nobody's immune to it. Nobody is immune to the waking up process. We all have a role to play. We all have some vital kind of skin in the game, you know. And it's not always a political waking up. You know, it is an internal waking up. Look, I'm going to divulge something. I spent a year here in Fredericksburg. And I spent a year here in Fredericksburg because part of the reason why I'm here is that I needed to take some space from my life in Austin. You know, my life in Austin was getting very intense, and I needed to take some space here. And it's been really, really good. It's been a good experience for me. I've been able to look at myself. I've been able to, because I'm always on, right? I'm always on. I do this every single day. I'm always looking, sorting through things. I'm just giving you kind of a look behind the curtain. So it's been a really good time for me to just examine and reflect and sort of be out of this kind of eye of the storm in my life. And again, one of the results of that is I began to look at my body. I began to look at my habituation. I began to look at just things that I took for granted, my health, and the things that went along with it. And I decided to make changes. This is part of the waking up process, okay? This is what we do. This is what happens. You know, it's not always out there, and it's not always some kind of grand schema where we're able to put together, you know, flow chart of pedophile rings and the Mossad and all that stuff. Because, I mean, that stuff is obviously on some level, like really, you know, startling and revelatory. But on another level, it's not always going to make you or help you live your life in a better way. So that's kind of the waking up process that I've been involved in. And hopefully we're all going through various versions of that as well. And we're not perfect. And anybody who says they're a finished product, they're basically telling you a lie. All right, so let's get into a little bit of humor here at the start of things, at the jump. Yesterday was Game 2 in the NBA Finals. Of course, I'm following them because I'm a Warrior fan, even though sports are fixed for the most part, and I know that because I've witnessed it on a pretty intimate level. Let's just say an intimate level. There was some really interesting image from yesterday's game. Of course, it's in Canada, and we know who is a tremendous basketball fan, and that is the former president, number 44, Barack Obama. And he decided to take the game in with Nosferatu. So here's Barack Obama watching basketball. I'm just having a jolly old time with Nosferatu. Of course, that's not really Nosferatu. That's Adam Silver. And Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA. This picture actually is quite interesting in a lot of ways, right? This is a very interesting picture. Number one, you got people on cell phones. They're at a game, they're watching a game, they can't get off their damn cell phones. Maybe they're texting, oh my God, OMG, I can't believe it, Barack Obama is sitting right underneath me. Maybe that's what's going on here. But, you know, you got cell phone action. That's happening. And then the Adidas symbol, now, of course, this is just happenstance. But the Adidas symbol is three pyramids in one, right? Pyramid, pyramid, pyramid. It's the top of the pyramid, of course. Adidas stands for Adidas, who is the founder of Adidas. But this symbol represents the pyramids in Egypt, and you get to the top. So essentially, these guys they're Saturn worshippers. Anyway, so we have Adam Silver, aka Nosferatu, and Barack Obama taking in. It's not America's game. I think basketball is a Canadian game. I could be mistaken about that. So people that were, and by the way, the Nosferatu meme got tossed all over I've been calling him Nosferatu for years, ever since he was the deputy commissioner of the NBA. Those years, man. Those are like Stravinsky-esque years. Now, if you were really paying attention to the world stage, you'd also know that Donald Trump's got a new hairdo. How about that? Is this Donald Trump, by the way? Can we agree that this is Trump? Is this Trump? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's Trump or not. There we go. Here's Donald Trump. And he's got the Gordon Gekko look. Look at that. He's over there in Europe, and he's sporting his golf shirt. Looks like he just came from the golf course. He just came from St. Andrews, hitting around at St. Andrews, and now he's got his jacket over his golf shirt. But he's got a new hairdo. Look at that, the Donald sporting. If this is indeed the Donald, he's sporting the Gordon Gekko greed is good kind of look from the 1980s. How about that? So we're not without a little bit of levity here at the start of the show. Try to keep things on the lighter side of things. I want to get back to the Virginia Beach shooting that took place on Friday. And let me see if I can. I wanted to get this one image. Let me grab this image. I'm gonna try and grab this image, and it's gonna be this maybe a transition from Obama and the talk of Obama and the shooting that took place in Virginia. Let me see if I can grab this image here because it was a pretty interesting graphic in a lot of ways. Let me grab this thing. I think it's pretty much here. I might have it already on my computer, but. Let me just go here and grab that thing. Let me just drop it into the OBS site. Hopefully I can add an image graph. Oh, I can do this real time, live. So graph, and where'd I go? That's me. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do this real time, and the screen may go black. So. Hang in there with me. It's just going to take a second. You can look at this. It's actually a pretty interesting graphic. All right, here I go. Screen's going black, but I'll continue to talk. Image, okay, so we have graph pick. And normally, of course, I upload all these things so I can seamlessly transition back and forth between a number of these images. And this one just kind of went under the radar, but there it is. Now you see it. This is the number of mass shootings in the United States by year. So we're starting in 1966. Okay, so we're here. Look at this. Some people say things in the good old days weren't as good or they weren't as better. Well, clearly, what's really interesting about this graph here is that the United States was very invested in gun culture. Like there were gun clubs around this time. You could take your gun to high school. I'm not advocating that now, but you could then. And look at this. Look at this. You got flat, 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 and we got some spiky, 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 spiky. Going up, going up, going up. These social tensions, social pressures, and in 1987. Bada bing, we've got about 7. I think these are like the postal shootings, right? Going postal is right around here. In fact, I was working at a post office during that time. And then, oh boy, we get up to 10, and then we go way back down here. Spiky, spiky, spiky. And here's Columbine right there. And after Columbine, it's going back down again. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Lifting up a little bit, lifting up. And just as Barack Obama is coming into office, we have the Sun Hu Cho, I think that's the guy's name, the Virginia Tech shooting. And then, scaling down, scaling down, scaling down. And this is number 2, second term of Obama. And then wham! Up and to the right. Look at that. So we go from, now he's not obviously in office here, but this is just skyrocketing. We have Newtown, we have Aurora, we have Chattanooga. We've got Charleston, up and to the right. Look at this. Look at this. So this is what happened. In 2012, Obama modernized the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 and thereby legalizes domestic propaganda, allowing the U.S. government to pass off stage drills as real in the MSM. Almost overnight, mass shootings skyrocket. So the reason why 2012 is significant is because of this Smith-Mundt Act. The modernization of it in 1948. Now, getting back to the Virginia Beach event, apparently there was going to be a drill on Saturday with Virginia Beach, and that's unusual in and of itself. Well, it's not that unusual, to be honest with you. But the day after is a little unusual. The Virginia Beach, just on the surface, reminds me a little bit of the San Bernardino events, in that both took place in government buildings. And I heard Ralph Northam come onto the airwaves yesterday, sounding very sympathetic, very gubernatorial, very calming, very soothing, in that Ralph Northam kind of way. Well, just our hearts are just going out to the victims. Look, I don't know if anything happened. I don't know. I really don't. Hopefully, Beverly will chime in and provide some on the ground details. But here's the shooter, Duane Craddock. Sounds an awful lot like Stephen Paddock. 40 years old, 15-year employee. I've went all over the internet. This is the only picture I could find of the guy. That's it. One picture. Usually, after an event like this, there are multiple pictures. Lots of pictures. There's only one. One picture of Duane Craddock. And what's interesting from an astrological perspective is that this happened during the sign of what? The sign of Gemini, right? And even though Craddock and Paddock are not really connected, they sound somewhat similar. And then we have, obviously, Duane Craddock, who is black, so-called black, African-American, and Stephen Paddock, who is so-called white and Caucasian-American, Northern European, or whatever you want to call him. So here we have the Gemini effect beginning to kind of emerge and assert itself. So this happened on a Friday. A lot of these events happen on Fridays. Have you noticed that too? Didn't the Poway event happen on a Friday? My God, I guess we should have False Flag Friday. You know, they have Throwback Thursday. Maybe we should have False Flag Friday. Maybe we should just do a false flag kind of pool on Fridays and see if we can pick where the Friday false flag is going to be. Because it certainly happened on a Friday again. Now, you're going to hear people on the so-called right who will say that, well, you won't hear anything because this guy is so-called black and African-American. And of course, that'll get under people's craw, and that'll get under people's skin. And whether or not this is true, and by and large it generally is true, it still is yet another tactic and technique to divide and conquer. You know, it's just on the other side of things. And it's one of those mechanisms that's been set up so that, you know, number one, a certain group doesn't feel like they're targeted, and number two, people are becoming more self-aware or more aware in general about media exposure. And as a result of the media exposure, or that details are not or divulged or they don't emerge, then of course people get pissed off and angry and the pressure gets turned up, right? So we're here to diffuse the pressure and just let you know that you're probably not going to hear too many details about this. It'll be swept under the rug, although it goes into the hopper as yet another event, another statistical talking point. And if people did die, if there was a real shooting, if these people, the victims of this event, actually did die or did go to the hospital, then, you know, my heart goes out to the survivors of those people and their families. And it's a very, very difficult position to be in. And if I was in one of those positions, I would probably fight like hell to figure out if it was real or not. That's what I would do. You know, a lot of times none of this ever happens. A lot of times, unless, of course, we're talking about 9/11. And the families of 9/11, they were the ones that got really pissed off. And back in the day when I spent, you know, some time with Jay Widener, who, by the way, has a YouTube channel. Just check it out. Jay confided me, well, the reason why we've got all these false flags now, the way that they do them, is because they have to control them. Because the families of the 9/11 victims were very problematic. And now, when we have these events, how often do we actually hear anything from the survivors of the families? Maybe we do. I don't know. I don't. I can't think of one person who said, you know, this is bullshit. You know, this was staged. This was a psychological. Like, even, let's say, for instance, okay, let's use Sandy Hook as an example. So there are people that don't believe that nobody died in Sandy Hook. Okay, but let's just say, for instance, kids did die. Now, let's just say, for instance, you were one of the parents of the kids. There's a lot of random video of guys like running in the woods, running away from the event, right? It's like, what's going on with that? This is really anomalous. You know, what's going on? There are a lot of anomalous kinds of things around Sandy Hook that if I was a parent and my kid died, I'd be making a lot of waves. So with these events and the anomalies that take place, you would think that at least with one of these events, just one, and there's a multitude of them. I mean, just here, look at this. You would think that somewhere in there would be some kind of family interactivity where people, instead of praying for whatever happened or setting up a GoFundMe account, they'd be raising holy hell. It's never really happened. So I have to again kind of think about or wrap my head around the fact that there's nobody that's really part of those events from the immediate circle that wants to disentangle and say, look, something's wrong here. And if there is, and you know about it, put it in the chat room. And I'm not talking about Wolfgang Halbig, and I'm not talking about James, I'm talking about somebody connected to the events themselves who says, this stinks of high heaven. And I need an investigation. We need to look in. It never happens. Never happens. You would think that the odds would be that somebody would come out and say, this is bullshit. Unless, of course, everything is just completely the way it is. In that case, I'll just stop my channel tomorrow. Speaking of things that have kind of gone under the radar a little bit here, and again, I'm not targeting a group. I'm just trying to bring stuff up. Okay, just trying to bring stuff up. Now we know that we have Neptune in Pisces, and you know. If you go back and watch my shows on Gaia, I did a big show on Neptune and Pisces and Chiron and Pisces. And one of the things I got into with Neptune and Pisces was the refugee piece, right? And, you know, the connection to the refugees and water and Pisces and downtrodden and oceans and all those kinds of horary signifiers that say, hey, look, pay attention to this. Well, now we have a different kind of representation of water, the Rio Grande rivers, people crossing them, you know, people who theoretically, again, are refugees, refugee status, that's taking place. But this crossed my radar screen the other day, I think it was on Friday, and it was really kind of troubling on many levels. So have a look at this. I'm going to show this to you. So this is actually from a Border Patrol website. This is a website that tracks. This is part of the government. So this is from Del Rio, Texas. And it says, U.S. Border Patrol apprehends large group in Del Rio. Now, this is the Rio Grande. And I'm going to play you the video here. It says, U.S. Border Patrol agents from the Del Rio sector in Texas apprehended a large group of 116 people who illegally crossed the border on May 30th near the Del Rio point of entry. The group was comprised of people from West Africa, including 80 from the Congo, 35 from Angola, and 1 from Cameroon. The agents apprehended the group at 10:30 p.m. local time and are processing and medically screening them. This is the 101st, is that right? 181st large group of people, large group encountered so far this year. A large group is defined by 100 or more people who legally cross the border. So this is 180, right? This is 100 and, it's a lot. 116. This is the 101st, 181st. 116 people, they're all from Africa. Now, there is already a program in place with the UN to bring African refugees into the country, but apparently they just can't get enough. They need to have more, and they need to bring them to Mexico. So somebody's flying to Mexico, somebody's getting to the border, and somebody's going like here, And you know what's happening now? They're getting processed and they're being basically distributed into the country. I mean, and look, I am not here to. I think there's a major crisis in the planet, and that crisis is disparity of income. It's disparity of income. It's huge. Disparity of income, disparity of lifestyles. You have people in the third world who basically live like gutter rats, unfortunately, because their resources have been exploited for decades. You have these Banana Republic henchmen who come in, and they're there for a limited period of time until whichever country kind of has the lease on that country decides that they don't like them anymore. We'll start a coup and bring in somebody else, and we have a new henchman running that country, siphoning up the resources, diverting everything, and creating this huge economic disparity gap. And now, with the advent of the planet being linked into the heart, the global brain of media via cell phones, people are looking at the United States, they're looking at where they live, and they're saying, holy shit, our place stinks, get me out of here. And of course, we have these NGOs and these groups that are more than willing to say, hey, you want to get out of here? They're like, yeah, get us out of here. What do we got to do? So in a lot of ways, I don't blame these people for getting on a plane and going to Mexico and crossing the river. I don't really blame them. Because they're trying to find a better way of life. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. The problem here is that there is an agenda afoot. The agenda afoot is to depopulate that area, to control their resources more, have greater control of their resources, and begin to use that group. Remember, I said groups are weaponized. It's a weaponization of a group. Okay, not everybody in that group is going to be bad. There can be good people and bad people in many groups, right? I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying that they can't integrate, be a part of the American story. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is this is happening illegally. The government is aware of it. These NGOs are aware of it. And that ultimately it's becoming used as a way to completely alter the social terrain and social topography of not only this country, but any country, with the exception of Japan and China. Because this shit doesn't happen in Japan and China. They won't allow it, or Russia, they won't allow it, but it's okay for it to happen here. Well, it's really not okay. Let me show you the video. Let's do this. Here's the video. I think it should play. What do we have here? Come on, play for me. Oh, man. I grabbed this video and it's not running. But if I ran the video, you would see how here we go. How about that? There we go. So here they are. This is a nighttime cam, right? And they're trying to get to land. I doubt if any of these people can really swim, by the way. So yeah, they're being endangered. I mean, here's some compelling images of children. I think they have. Do they have like life jackets on? I'm not sure. Here's this guy carrying his kid, hand in hand, right? I mean, it's kind of a compelling image. They're trying to get to a better place to live. I don't blame them. I'd probably do the same thing if I had to. And it's illegal. And it's part of a globalization agenda. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention, since perhaps your local news didn't show you that video. Perhaps Fox News didn't show you that video. Perhaps CNN neglected to show you that video. I'm here to show you the video. It's happening. And it's not just people from Mexico or Guatemala. It's not. These are people that are coming from freaking Africa, okay, and they're being flown to Mexico so they can make this border crossing. In spite of the fact that, again, we have plane loads of refugees coming from Africa through the UN's refugee program on a daily basis, but apparently that's not enough. Let me check in with you guys in Chatlandia. Let's see what's going on over there. What's happening in your part of the world. It's good to be back. Good to be back on a Monday. Of course, let's see what do we have here. Bottom line is I'm ready to go to war. I truly know that I'm eternal. That's good. Working on my cardio. Me too, Michael. You got to work on the cardio. Let's see. What do we have here? False Flag Friday. Yeah, we're going to do False Flag Fridays. I do not trust JW. I do not trust JW. Bootlit Ball. Golden State Chimpanzees. Oh my God. Here we go. Image is everything, then changes an image are meant to dog whistle all sorts of different levels. That's true. That's true. Let's see. Follow the Money. Eagle Pass Del Rio. Who's paying their tickets? Dirt poor people. I agree. They can't afford to get on a plane. Are you kidding me? They can't afford it. They're being flown over, and these people. Look, there's a really good chance these people are carrying some kind of contagion. Okay, some kind of contagion. Could be Ebola. It could be any number of, diseases, and they're just being processed. That's it. Okay, boom, 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 go. And that's a safety issue, and that's a safety issue for everybody that lives in this country, whether you're black or white or male or female or it's a safety issue. But that's okay. There are plenty of vaccines available, apparently, to be able to protect you from that type of viral threats. Let me go over to the 15 minutes of flame side. What do we have here? Let's see what we have. Let's see. Hi, Robert. It's Beverly. This is from Beverly. She's living in Virginia Beach. A little bit of an update. Everyone was asked to wear blue today to honor the victims. They urged the kids in school to do it. I guess summer school, right? Hashtag solidarity going on. So what is it? Virginia Beach strong. Well, it's sad about those who died and were wounded. There's such a feeling of inauthenticity around this textbook, unfortunately. Yeah, the thing that really grabbed me about this Virginia Beach deal is that there's hardly any pictures of this guy, Dwayne Craddock, who sounds like Stephen Paddock. There's hardly any images. There's like maybe one or two images of him. In an era of like intense social media and Facebook and people putting shit up all over the place, you would think that there'd be more than just one or two images, or maybe these are just the one or two images that have been used and isolated as a result of this. So, interesting. Thanks, Bev. If you have any other insights, please feel free to share them with us. We appreciate your participation, being on the ground there. So, I love it. You guys send me links and stuff. I do my best to find things that are part of kind of, what's going on in the world on a daily basis. And I think it was Juana who sent me this link. And again, a bit disturbing here, and it has to do with a sex trafficking ring. And this is a south of the border theme, so I'm going to continue to sort of move around. We were in Mexico, and now we're south of the border. And this is a guy that was arrested recently. His name is Moush Ben Asi. He's an Israeli, and he was arrested because he's involved in a sex trafficking ring. Now, I'm going to throw this text into both chat rooms so you guys can figure this out. The sex stuff, the trafficking stuff it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. And it's transnational. A lot of different groups, sex networks are into it. And I'm going to give you some info on this latest piece here. Here we go. There's a link to that. And you guys over on the other side will get the same link. I'll read the story. And here we go. Let's put this in here. Bang. There it is. Okay, so we've got that. Let me read you the story. This is from a website called Middle East Monitor, also known as Memo. And again, this was sent to me. It says, An ex-Israeli soldier wanting to Colombia for heading a child prostitution ring and sex trafficking offenses has been arrested in Portugal. So this is a global ring. Portugal is interesting because that's where Madeleine McCann theoretically went missing, right? Was that right? Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. 45-year-old Asi Ben Mosh, also known as Asi Mouche, was arrested near the Portuguese capital, Lisbon, on Wednesday during an operation by Spain's Guardia Civil police force. The Guardia Civil said in a statement that Ben Mosh is thought to have been hiding on the Spanish island of Ibiza and then in Barcelona before eventually being arrested in Portugal this week. It added that Ben Mosh has been using a fake Israeli ID. Times of Israel reported yesterday. So this is not just, so the Times of Israel is reporting on this as well. This is where, so Israeli wanted for sex trafficking in Colombia, arrested in Portugal. So they're reporting on one of their own citizens. He is suspected of having operated a bunker-like hotel in Taganga, a Colombian fishing village, has become popular with backpackers, where young women and underage girls were sexually exploited. Colombian authorities supported Ben Mosh, whom local media called the Devil of Taganga in 2017, because he was deemed to be a threat to public order. How about that? Here, look at this. This is the Times of Israel, okay? I'm going to throw this in there. This is not just some other website. They're reporting on one of their own citizens. You know this is kind of serious when this begins to take place. Let me just throw this into the other chat room. Let's see. Here we go. Throw that in there. Boom. There it is. Just like that. Okay. So I'm just going to read this, continue to read this from the Times of Israel. Let's go to the source on it, shall we? It says, but they recently issued an internet arrest warrant for Ben Mosh via Interpol for drug trafficking, money laundering, trafficking in human beings for the person of exploitation, sexual exploitation. Spanish police suspect Ben Mosh hid for a while on the Spanish holiday island of Ibiza and then Barcelona before he was arrested in Portugal. That was from the other website. In December, Colombian police announced an operation against the sexual exploitation of Ben Mosh, the suspected of setting. 3 Israelis and 2 Colombians were detained in the sting. So this is somebody from commenting, trade for young girls is booming. It is being exploited by those who want to make an easy buck. Ben Mosh has given Jews a bad name by peddling underage of consent gals. That's a really interesting comment. Really interesting. Ooh, Madonna lives in Portugal. How about that? How about that? Madonna lives in Portugal. Okay, it's an interesting comment because here is a guy, probably an Israeli or Jewish, who says he's giving his people a bad name. There you go. Thank you. Wake up, right? Wake up. Wake up. See, this is really important, right? We have to cross certain lines sometimes. We have to cross certain lines to look at our culture, look at our upbringing, look at our religion and faith, and then step back and say, you know what? This is a mind fuck. And I've been participating in a mind fuck for a very long period of time. And it's time to remove myself, or at the very least bear witness to the fact that this is going on so we can begin to unlock the mind fuck. That's just how it works. So hats off to you, commenter, for being able to do that. And look, to be perfectly honest, at the risk of sounding like a raging, angry, furious white male, we have been basically told since like the mid-60s that you got to start navel gazing. You got to start realizing that you've got to become more sensitive. You've got to become more open. You've got to become more tolerant. You've got to become more diverse. And then now you've got to ultimately hate yourself. It's not just about examining the role that your culture has played in Western civilization. Now there's degradation, cultural degradation, and cultural self-hate. Right? That's now the latest version of what's supposed to take place. Sorry, pumping the brakes. Pumping the brakes. I think it's good for people to examine who they are, what group they're a part of. I think it's really good. I think it's important. But it's only a step, right? It's only a step. And then you got to get beyond that step. Ultimately, I want all people to be free, right? And not at the expense of any other person, not at the expense of any other group. See, that's been the problem with identity politics, is that they will take one group and demonize that group, and they'll say this group is bad, they're the scapegoat, and go after that group. Meanwhile, your group is sacrosanct, you don't have anything to worry about, and in fact, we'll lift you up while we'll put this group down. Okay, that doesn't fly. We all rise or fall together. That's kind of how I see things. So I want everybody to be, I want those people in Africa who are, wading across the river to actually have a nice place to live in Africa. So the quality of their life is better in Africa. Or the people in Guatemala want the quality of their life to be better. Whatever, right? Wherever they are, let's raise the quality and standard of living. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. When we go around the world, we start bombing the shit out of the world, and we start to have regime change after regime change, and there's no traction, and there's nothing able to root, of course, people are going to look for a better deal. And that's what it comes down to. People are looking for a better deal. And of course, on paper, this is still the better deal. It's the best deal on the planet. Who wouldn't want to be here? Right? But it's time for us to stop targeting. We all rise and fall together. Can we make critical assessments? Yes, we can. We have discernment. It's part of, critical assessments are not judgments. I'm a Virgo. I specialize in critical assessments. Anyway, that's where it's at in terms of the big picture. The big picture. At the end of the day, are we going to have to go through some kind of conflagration where people are going to have to pick a side? I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. It may happen. It may happen. Michael is over there in the chat room. He's saying he's sprinting to get his cardio up. I would say if you are a human, not just an American, but if you're a human, you better be taking better care of your body. And you better be taking care of your body so that if at some point in the future you got to get off your couch and do something that's a little more strenuous than playing a video game or Netflix and chill, you better be prepared to do that. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. It could be going out and growing your own food or dealing with a natural disaster. But you got to be fit. You got to be in shape. And if you're not, then you got to re-examine what's going on in your life. I think it's an important piece, an important factor to wrap your head around. So I support Michael in his quest for fitness. I'm trying, doing my best. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, let me check in with you guys in Chatlandia. A lot of discussion on Haiti. Let's see. Okay, so what's interesting, Ani says Haitians are good people, but they seem to be in a haze. Paulette says haze after the Clinton Foundation heist of about $3 billion. United Nations caused typhoid epidemic and child organ trafficking. Who would be normal? Spot on, Paulette. Great comments. Absolutely. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget these wonderful first responders who show up to theoretically help the populace. Yeah, there's probably a lot more going on than just helping the populace. Like in and out. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. All right, who else do we have here? Let's see, the immersion of voodoo does not help. Paulette says, I agree, voodoo is a cultural black hole. Ani says, I live in Miami Shores, just north of Little Haiti. I'm telling you, they're on a different frequency. Ani, so you think it's trauma-based mind control? Yes, trauma. Where else are you going to get this conversation? We got BB. BB's in the house. There are a large number of Jewish people questioning what's going on. I agree. Thank God for that, BB. Thank God. We need people of every single stripe, of every single creed, of every single nationality to question what the hell is going on. And basically figure out that we're all being manipulated. And if that day ever came, where people woke up and were on the same page. You know, God bless us and heaven help them, because that would turn the tide. And I think we're kind of getting there, but all this fractionalization and microaggressions and all the stuff doesn't really help. But yes, and I do believe that that's happening. I do believe it's. I think there are Latino Americans. They just don't check a box and say we're for this. No, there are Black Americans who just don't check a box. They're looking around, saying this is bullshit. I don't stand for this. So really, the idea here is for people to come together under that wing, together. That's the key, and that's where the managers of the Matrix begin to get a bit terrified. They don't want that. They don't ever want that. They'll want people coming together under the guise of victimization, but they don't want people coming together under the guise of real, true personal empowerment and wanting to help one another. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Just a little bit of your power coffee for Monday morning. I'm Robert Phoenix. Tomorrow, I've got my video stuff sorted out. Tomorrow, I am hitting this at 8 a.m. Okay, I'll be doing 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. For you people on the East Coast, it's going to be 9 a.m. your time. For you people on the West Coast, it'll be 6 a.m. So if you're up and about, have a listen. If you listen to this stream over in Europe, it's going to be 6 hours difference. So you can basically listen to me for high tea or something like that. Or catch this for high tea. So we're going to be 8 a.m. to roughly 9 a.m. every day now, because the schedule's changing a bit. I need to have more of a kind of a runway for workload after 9 a.m. So that means I'm getting up earlier to produce this show. And I'm going to be moving things around a little bit. I'm going to be moving out of Studio B, which is really mainly for astrology. So that's a new thing that's happening as well. All right. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay up on what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Thank you for being a part of today's 15 Minutes of Flame. I'll see you guys tomorrow.